It's summertime and the fishing is on fire. The weather forecast continues to be calm, so whether you like to bass fish on your favorite freshwater lake or maybe run 100+ miles out to the rigs, this holiday weekend has everything and anything to offer. So ice down your Yeti, charge up your batteries, cause it's time to go fishing here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
You're tuning in to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. We are your hosts, Brie Gabrielle and Captain Rick Murphy, here to say happy 4th of July and bring you your guides and captains with fishing reports sure to start your long holiday weekend off with a bang, right, Rick?
You're absolutely right, Brie, and I must say, what a lovely color of red on your lips.
Thank you.
It's the
Patriotic.
Ricky Red color.
Exactly.
It's my favorite.
You can't even talk.
As you know.
I know. Well, it's also, you know, patriotic, 4th of July, Independence Day.
Of course, you're looking great, man.
Thanks, so are you. All right, Rick, well, someone who's going to help us celebrate, Dave Ferrell at the CCA Workbench. It's Independence Day, Dave, and you're looking pretty independent over there.
Yep, I am. I could use one of those Kubotas to jerk a swordfish out, because that's what we're talking about.
Oh, well, that would be interesting.
Yeah, big old tractor to pull a swordfish out of the ocean.
We could just winch him right up with that diesel.
Exactly.
What do you think, Dave?
I think so.
All right,
hydraulics and all.
Okay, well, Captain Carl Weston in the Fish Bites Upper Coast region is always on top of his fish catching game, so you can be on top of yours. So, Carl, let's get some more details on the Bastrop Bayou game.
Well, hey, the redfish are biting good at Bastrop Bayou. As a matter of fact, they're biting all the way up to Sabine Pass right now. And it seems like if you look for the birds, you'll find the fish. There's a ton of shrimp everywhere, and you'll see the birds working on them. There's a lot of small fish that you may have to call through right now, but if you keep trying, there are big ones in there too. And we've been catching them on dark-colored mirror like mirrodines, and on croakers. So, like we said, this dirty water that we've got in the last 3 or 4 days may slow the bite down a little bit, but hang in there. You'll get your fish. And I think we have a picture here of Mr. Dillon with a big catch of red.
Nice.
Wow.
All right, what else you got for us inshore, Carl?
Well, the trout are still biting good. They're biting back behind Bird Island, over in West Bay on the reefs. So when you're out fishing, look for reef structure and drop-offs. We've been catching these fish with a popping cork with a 4-inch bass assassin shrimp. Small plastic like a mirror lure Little John seems to be the best up on your hookup ratios when they're eating small shrimp. And the colors they seem to like right now with this water is pink or glow chartreuse. We seem to get a lot more strike on those colors right now.
So, Carl, let me ask you a question. How's the water? Didn't you guys get some rain? Is it a little tannic? Is it a little stained? Or is the green water pushed into the area?
Well, there's still green water pushing in from the channels, but back in the bays where it's more stagnant, but the water is stained. It's looking pretty bad from all the rain.
All right, well, that explains why the dark colors seem to be working so well. Let's go ahead and go offshore, bub, where you make your money.
All right, boss. We talk a little bit about bull red fishing out on the beach fronts because with a lot of wind lately, a lot of storms and rain, we haven't got offshore as much as we'd like to. So the bull red's bite, has been good out front, like it is always this time of year. You have to dodge the wind and storms a bit, but the few trips I saw this week had really good fish. So when you're setting up for these fish, try and stay out of the channel. There's a lot of boat activities, a lot of ship traffic coming in and out of Freeport and Galveston jetties. So if you stay east or west of these channels and look for the fish, you'll find them. Simply anchor up. Throw out a chum bag, let your lines drift back in the chum slick on top. We try to put a few on the bottom and a few on top. Live or dead shad is my favorite bait. And if you're bumping along, you're catching reds and you start to get sharks, you start to get bit off, put some wire on because you got some sharks or kingfish in the spread. Put that wire leader on, you'll catch them as well. And we have a picture here of Mr. Chris with a nice bull red.
Oh, that is a nice one. All right, what do you got offshore?
Well, we did get out a few days and over the weekend with some really nice calm weather and calm seas. And I hit a few different spots I was testing to see what we had in different areas. So we started fishing around the 40-mile mark over some bottom structure and caught a limit of really nice red snapper, sorry. Then we moved out about 50 miles, and we hooked on some nice kingfish on the rock piles, drifting cigar minnows on a kingfish rig. We also had some nice ling around the boat in that area, caught a few nice lings, caught some sharks. Then we also hit the 300-foot depth range and pulled in some nice scamp grouper, which we had rigged a drop loop rig with 2 pounds of weight with an 8/0 circle hook and a whole squid or a live piggy perch.
All right.
And I believe we got a picture there of a layout of some red snapper, a scamp, and a gag grouper.
That looks like dinner to me, Carl. Thank you so much. Thank you for starting us off this week, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at the mirror lure hotspots from the Upper Coast region. He says the redfish in Basker Bayou looking for birds catching on any dark-colored mirror lure mirrodines, and then offshore, the bull reds on the beachfront to the east or the west of the channel. Toss out a chum bag with live or dead shad on top and on bottom for bait.
We're fishing for dinner.
That's right.
Sounds good to me. All right, it's all about being flexible in the Star-Tryon Middle Fresh region. And our guide, Matt Loescher, has everything it will take to get that bite on Sam Rayburn, Richland Chambers, and Toledo Bend this 4th of July. So, Matt, let's hear it.
All right, guys. This week you're going to have to get a little trickier with the fish. You know, there's going to be a lot of boats out on the lake, and, they get a little more pressure. You know, they've been pressured all spring and all through the summer. So you kind of have to pay attention to the subtle details a little bit more this week. Over at Sam Rayburn, there's still a lot of fish biting in the shallow cover, and there's some offshore. The water level is still high over there, but it is coming down slowly. So key to catching them really good over there right now is just to fish the conditions that you're dealt day to day. On the days when there's a lot of cloud cover or like a rainy day, we've had a lot of rainy days lately, the shallow bite is still producing the most fish. And for that, a bass assassin fat job is what you want to throw. You can Texas rig it either weightless or on a lightweight, and that's usually the ticket throughout the day for the most bites. However, most of the bigger fish are being caught offshore on crankbaits and bigger worms, like an 11-inch bass assassin ribbon-tail worm. I like to Texas rig that on about a 1/4 ounce weight and either June bug or red bug color. And look for the concentrations of bait fish out there in that mid-range depth, like 10, 20. Look for that around your graph, and you should find the bass with those bait fish around those points and humps out there. And then up on Richland Chambers, the bass are biting a variety of bait, and Mr. Thurman Spellman with Bass Specialty Guide Service is still catching them on Texas rig crawls, jigs, and Carolina rigs on points near deep water. So look for those, places where those bass can get down in that deeper summertime depth and then have a place to pull up on a point and feed. Some fish are also coming from grass and brush up there in about 6 to 10 foot of water near Pelican Island. And then down on Toledo Bend, the water level has stabilized a bit and actually even risen just very slightly over the past few days. And so with that rise in water, you can find bass in shallow grass, especially early in the morning. You'll want to throw a frog for some really explosive blow-ups in that grass first thing at daylight. And then the nighttime bite has also been really good lately. And for that, an 11-inch big bass assassin ribbon-tail worm, like I was talking about for Rayburn, same thing, but in like a black and blue, something really dark colored is always a good choice for that night fishing. Look for those fish at night around the lighted docks or on the shallower offshore spots with deep water nearby. And then on the crappie, they've been biting pretty fair on Toledo Bend, especially when the conditions are nice. These crappie are fair weather fish. They're kind of tough to catch when there's a lot of thunderstorms popping or when there's really dense cloud cover. They kind of scatter out a bit. So on the nice sunny days, fish for them in 20 to 30 foot around standing timber. The jig bite has been a little bit better this week, but I'm using a really light 32nd ounce jig head and just a plain monkey milk colored jig body on that. That slower fall with the lighter weight and the natural color has been the key to catching those big slabs lately. And the number of fish hasn't been quite as high as it was over the past few weeks, but the quality has been really, really good. I've got a picture there to kind of showcase that from a few days ago. I had a family with me, and we caught, I think, 68 crappie that day, but just all really nice fish, made for a few great fish fries out of those. And then lastly, the white bass, I'm going to touch on them. Down at Lake Livingston, they're still really hot, and on Toledo Bend, we're catching them good as well. In fact, I caught some of those today. You can catch those on live minnows or on spoons when they're near the bottom during the day. The best bite's kind of been midday for the spoons deal. But if you get out there early in the morning or really late in the evening, you'll probably find some of them schooling on the surface as well. And if you do, then just about any type of topwater plug that imitates a shad will usually catch them. And that's some of the most fun action on the lake. They're very aggressive, hard-fighting fish. So look for those out there in about 10 to 20 foot of water around points and on flats near the river channel.
All right, thank you so much, Matt. Great report from the Startron Middle Fresh region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots. Our guide, Matt, says largemouth bass are biting big Texas rigged worms in Sam Rayburn and Toledo Bend day and night. And then at Richland Chambers, the fishing the bottom baits on the points are the ticket. And then crappie at Toledo Bend are in 20 to 30 feet around standing timber, biting slow falling jigs. White bass are munching at Lake Livingston and Toledo Bend on spoons. Man, that's a hot spot.
It is. Sounds like it. All right, we're just getting our red, white, and blue on here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report, so stay alert for our captain in the lower fresh region. But we're going to check what Dave Ferrell, the CCA Workbench, has. First, for rigs and techniques, what are you wowing us this fourth?
It's like a disco in here. We got some cool lights. We're going to be fishing for swordfish.
Whoa. Disco.
Here we go.
Sounds good to me.
Disco.
Disco this way, disco that way.
Is this disco?
Disco like this.
Okay, disco. We'll see you back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Casa Vieja Lodge. 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Garmin. Join the club. Sportsman's Adventures. Fishing for adventure. And CCA Texas, a leader in marine conservation.
Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 offshore 4-strokes. For those that like their V6 lighter, faster, and stronger. Setting new standards for power, efficiency, speed, and lightweight. Built for the rigors of offshore boating. Packed with Yamaha's legendary reliability. And now Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 4-strokes offer a choice between digital or mechanical controls to match your rigging preference. Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
Are you tired of fighting foul odors in your car? The easy-to-use Auto Odor Eliminator from Starbright uses the power of chlorine dioxide to eliminate even the worst smells. From cigarettes and pets to fast food and sweaty kids, this EPA-registered chlorine dioxide technology fights the odor-causing bacteria, the source of the stink. Don't just cover it up. Eliminate it with the Auto Odor Eliminator from Starbright.
If you're not a member of Coastal Conservation Association, you need to be. CCA fights on a national and state level for our fishing rights so that our children and grandchildren will have fish to catch today and in the future. CCA, through their habitat programs, create oyster and artificial reefs, as well as many other habitat programs. CCA also each year releases millions of trout, redfish, and flounder, so join myself, Brie, and Dave and become a member of CCA now. Well, the CCA Workbench here. We're talking about rigs and techniques, and it's a little fishy around here, Davey.
Yeah, well, a little bit. We're talking about sword fishing, and Texas, fortunately, has one of the best sword fisheries probably in the United States. Just a ton of them out there, and they're protected a lot because of the long runs involved to get to them. You know, you got to go 75, 100 miles to get to the good water. When you're targeting swordfish, you want to be in at least 1,000 feet of water, probably a little bit more, 1,200 to 1,500 feet. And there's really two ways to go about catching them. Fishing during the daytime on the bottom,
right,
or at nighttime scattered. And the reason you do that is because at night, swordfish make a big migration from the bottom where they spend all day because the sun, you know, they have these giant eyeballs. They're a deep water fish. They avoid the light for the most part, although we will find them sunning on the surface sometimes. But most of the time they're in deep water, and in the daytime they're on the bottom. But at night, during the big mass migration of all the little things that come up during the night, the swordfish come up too. And that's when we get a really good chance at them because they're really close to the surface and a lot easier to catch for a lot of guys. But in Texas, you're fortunate because you don't have a lot of current.
Yes.
You know, if you have a knot of current, that's a lot of current. And so you can get away with fishing right on the bottom with like 5 pounds of lead. This is a 10-pound lead. You'd use the same kind of lead, but only about half this weight to fish.
This size.
Yeah, you know, depending, you know, if it's really rough or weather-wise, you know, you might need a little bit more weight to stay on the bottom. But what you want to do is when you're fishing in the daytime is to drop into the 1,400 feet, get it all the way to the bottom. Sometimes you can drag that bait on the bottom, but if you crank it up a couple turns, it's not going to hurt anything probably, because all the fish are on the bottom during the day. And that's why it's so successful in Texas, is because you have the lack of the current and you have all the fish concentrated on the bottom around structure. They're going to be, usually they're, not to say that, you know, you won't catch a swordfish out in the flat plain in 1,000 feet of water, because you can. There are no fences down there and they're wide-ranging fish. But you want to be right on the bottom, and you want to be around some sort of structure, a canyon, even a deep wreck that you know about, you know, some sort of structure, a plateau, anything that'll have an upwelling or something that'll concentrate bait and whatnot. And what you want to do is you want to get out there and drop right on the structure.
Right.
You know, you want to make sure, you know, that you make a big loop and when you're dropping, so you don't get everything tangled up, and put your nose into the current and let the stuff fall down, and then you just keep your nose into the current and bump along, and hopefully you'll get a bite. Now at nighttime, it's a lot different because you can fish. The fish are scattered between 500 feet in the surface.
Right.
So what you'll do, instead of fishing like one bait on the bottom during the day, at nighttime you can fish 3 or 4 baits, sometimes 5 baits if you're a really good guy, and you have, you know, nice outriggers to keep them all separated. But you can fish one at 100 feet, one at 200 feet, and one at 400 feet, and maybe put a squid and or any kind of dead bait.
Big,
you know,
big heavy duty circle hooks.
a
Like
bit,
this one?
I like to use circle hooks. There's a lot of fellas, you know, most of the bait that you find rigged are rigged with J hooks.
With J hooks.
You know, but there's a lot of guys who when they fish for swordfish, that's a bonita strip, I think. Anyway, but what they'll do is they'll say that these swordfish have really soft mouths, and they want to hook them deep, and you know, use a J hook to do that. But you know what? The guys who fish for them for a living on long lines use a big circle hook.
Right.
So I think a good circle hook, a good ways out in front of the bait, you know, 3 or 4 inches out in front of the bait, because swordfish, they hit things with that bill. Unlike a marlin or a sailfish, they use that bill to kill things with. You know, a sailfish and a marlin, you know, they really don't whack too many things with that bill. They bite things and squeeze them to death. The broadbill uses that bill as a sword. He slashes baits with it. He slashes enemies with it. It's a weapon to him. So when he gets around a bait, if it's a big bait, he'll come in there slashing with that head. And what happens was he'll get all tangled up in that mess. And then you start pulling on him real hard, and all that stuff will come off. And that's how they got the reputation for having a soft mouth. What it is most of the time they get tangled up in it, and we end up pulling out of the tangle. If you get a good circle hook in the corner of his mouth, you're going to catch him.
Tell me about the strobes, Dave. Turn this on.
Yeah, well, I mean, these are, you know, strobe light. They actually come in all different colors. You know, some of them are just pure green, some of them are pure blue, some flash, some don't. This one does it all. It's a disco. But you know, a lot of guys have preferences for their light. And if you guys been paying attention lately online, they just recently had a big giant squid come in the Atlantic Ocean. They just finally got one for a picture of it, and it came up to a light that's not unlike this. And I think any predator down that deep is going to be attracted to those kind of lights. And that's why we put lights like this, you know, 10 or 15 feet away from our bait when we're sword fishing.
Well, thank you. I like that. I know that a lot of guys are using these lights even during the daytime.
Yes, for sure.
Bree, we're over here flashing.
Still dark down there.
We're flashing, Bree.
I see you flashing over there. I'm flashing my Kubota over here. Well, you can't get more America than catching a big old bass with some Prospect Shirky by your side in this great state of Texas. So, Matt, let's give our people in the Prospect Smokehouse Lower Fresh region what they want to hear.
Well, let's get it started. I've got a lot to talk about today, so we'll try to roll through it. We're going to start out down in Falcon. The bass are biting extremely well down there right now. The summer pattern on the main lake rock humps and ledges is the most consistent thing going. Most of them are in the 15 to 20 foot range. There's been a lot of giants caught lately. Sounds crazy, but that is the normal thing to happen down there in the hot summer. We catch a lot of our biggest fish in the middle of summer. Crankbaits and football jigs have been the best thing going. There's also a pattern with man-made brush piles throwing a big Texas rig worm in those. It's giving up quite a few fish. Moving on up to the Austin area, Lake Decker, it's fishing fairly well. There's some good activity early in the morning around the discharge there at the power plant. You can catch those fish using very small baits, such as little swim baits and jerk baits. They're biting the straight tail ones better right now than they are the paddle tails. So those little keys like that can be very important. When they stop surfacing, a worm works very slowly on the bottom, and a dark color is catching some good ones. When that action settles down, just go down to the wind-blown coves and work the edge of the grass lines later in the day, and that can give up some more school fish. Like LBJ, the fish are fairly active. They're hiding in the shade under the boat docks. Skipping a jig or a Texas rig worm or even a fluke under those docks is a great way to catch a big one right now. But you need to practice real hard at skipping because you need to get it all the way back under the dock to the bulkhead. That's where you get most of the bites because they don't see many baits. Another way to catch them there right now is deep on a crankbait. Work the ledges in that 12 to 20 foot range with a big crankbait and a shad pattern, and you might catch the one you're looking for. Moving on over to Lake Georgetown. It's a little lake that doesn't get talked about very much. Early in the morning, there's been some good schooling activity. They're chasing shad at the mouth of the pockets on the southern end of the lake. Again, throw small swim baits, crankbaits, or topwaters to get a bite. Later in the day, go deeper with a shaky head worm or a finesse worm on a drop shot in the deep flats to catch some of the bigger largemouth. One of the neat things there is you'll occasionally catch a smallmouth mixed in. You don't have those at too many fisheries in Texas, so that's a true bonus. Night fishing there is really good. If that's your deal, dodge the heat, get out there at night and throw that Texas rig worm on some of that deep structure, and you might catch you a big one. Choke Canyon Lake. Frog bite's getting better by the day. Early in the mornings and on cloudy days, the edge of the main lake grass lines is giving out those surface, those fish biting that topwater frog. Cast it over the grass line and work it back. Cadence is a big key. Sometimes they want it fast, sometimes they want it slow. You just have to experiment to see what they want that day. There's also still a good punching bite, punching right through the middle of the thick hydrilla with a beaver-style bait, soft plastic. Use an ounce or ounce and a half weight to get it through that thick hydrilla. Great way to catch a big one. The best colors have been watermelon red or pumpkin seed. Schooling activity is also happening on the inside grass line. Those schoolers are pretty decent. Most of them are in the 2 to 3 pound range with an occasional 4 to 6 pounder mixed in. They're biting topwaters, rattlebaits, and flukes are also working well. Fayette County, the deep water bite continues to roll. Look at the flats on the ledges close to the main lake points in that 12 to 20 foot range. Get you a big crankbait and catch the active ones, and when they slow down, get a drop shot in a watermelon shade. That's the best way to catch those fish. I've got a couple of pictures here of some falcon giants that my buddies caught last week.
Wow.
One of those is a 1201, I believe, and the other one's like a 10.5. That's just amazing fish.
They are great fish. All right, what else you got? A little catfish action in falcon?
Got a little catfish action, falcon. The water's warming up and going down. The big blues are biting late at night. They're on shallow hard spots right off the main river channel. Best on cut carp or big gizzard shad. If you just want some keeper-sized blue cats or channel cats, get on the shallow edges of the creeks with a slip bobber rig with shad or shrimp. That's working well. Choke Canyon, the blues and channel cats are also biting really well on dough bait. They're around the timber in that 12 to 15 foot range, and you can catch a bunch of keeper-sized catfish there up to 3 pounds with an occasional bigger one thrown in.
All right, thank you so much, Matt. We're going to tell me about this last photo, and then we'll say goodbye.
That last photo was just a cooler full of good old eating catfish. The come from Lake Falcon the other day.
Good old eating
Catfish
sounds
fingers.
good to me. Great report from the Pro 6 Smokehouse Lower Fresh region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots. Our guide Matt says Falcon Lake is kicking out some giant bass now. The main lake rock structures and brush piles have been the best areas. Try crankbaits, football jigs, Texas rig worms are your best options, Brie.
Fried catfish.
Yeah,
I
man.
feel like he always ends his report with a good old cooler full of fish you can fry.
It's like,
Right?
you just want to go there to eat.
Food.
Let's
All right,
go.
let's go. Summer is the perfect time to plan a fall adventure, so head to fabulous Cabo San Lucas to fish in the 21st annual Los Cabos Billfish Tournament, October 13th through the 17th. Cabo San Lucas, Mexico hosts some of the most prestigious and richest billfish tournaments in the world, and the Los Cabos Billfish kicks off the tournament season with a $750,000 purse up for grabs. Anglers and crews get to fish in a spectacular setting where the harsh desert meets the marlin-rich waters of the Pacific Ocean and the Sea of Cortez. This three-day tourney awards a wide variety of prizes and many ways to win, including tuna, dolphin, and wahoo categories. So you don't have to be a master bill fisherman to take home a bit of cash. You still have plenty of time to sign up and secure your spot and a good boat from the affordable Los Cabos fleet. If you want to fish in the most incredible fishing destination on earth and have a chance to win some money in the process, visit LosCabosTournaments.com and reserve your spot today. Looks like fun. Let's
Very
go.
nicely
Let's
done.
sign up. Thank you very much. All right, I'm here in Freedom Ring in the middle and lower and Garmin Lower Coast regions next. But before we go, remember, if you want to catch up with our crew and everything fishing in Texas, make sure to visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, watch us on YouTube, and check us out on Instagram. We'll be right back.
All right.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, always in the game. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. CCA Star, fishing fun for giant prizes and scholarships. And Project Smokehouse, a link above.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection four-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO offshore.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left. There's no cycle.
When it comes to sail fishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Today's power pole tip of the week is becoming more stealth with your poles. Now guys, think about this. We have 3 speeds on our power poles, and the one thing that we need to understand is that we can manipulate those speeds. We can go fast, medium, or stealth mode. Now whenever I'm making a move from an oyster bar over to a point, and I know I'm only gonna pick up the poles a few inches at a time, I simply click it into the stealth mode so that I can keep the noise level down to a very, very quiet approach. Now, you guys that love to bass fish and you're fishing fish that are on beds, that approach is the same thing. Make sure that you go into the stealth mode so that you can sneak up on those beds, put your poles down, and the bass doesn't know you're there. Keep in mind that by simply manipulating the speeds through your multifunction switch or through the app using the key fob, this will make a great approach, and that's today's power pole tip of the week.
Thanks for the tip, Rick.
You're welcome.
You're always you're a wealth of information.
Absolutely.
Always.
You gotta keep your pole stealth, you know.
Yes, you do. July is changing the tide, so to speak, in the Middle Coast region. So, Captain Bing Grimes, tell us about the trout and reds inshore and the offshore kings we can expect this weekend.
It's been a blustery 2 weeks, but man, we finally got a little tranquil weather, and it gave captains like myself a relief from those southerly gales. Man, it was blowing 25 knots or better. It's finally July with that, the low tides of southwest winds, but it hasn't happened yet. Blistering, no wind. We got some low pressure in the Gulf, and our tides are actually high, which is abnormal for July. And right now the surf has been wonderful. And in fact, Sunday probably had one of the best surf sessions I've had that I can remember. Just unbelievable. And then in West Matagorda Bay, our waders have been doing really well on sand and grass on the south shoreline around Pascavallo. And then Half Moon Reef has been hot with light winds on live shrimp under popping cork. And then closer to Palacios, those people anchoring around the barge and the sunken shrimp boats have scored easy limits on live shrimp, rigged about 4 foot below cork. And then the reefs off Palacios Point and Hotel Point are doing well as well. Near Freeport, ICW reefs have held trout on live shrimp. Those walking the nearby rocks are tossing topwaters early and late in the day. They're catching fish real tight to the granite. East Matagorda has been great while drifting this week. There have been numerous 6 to 8 pound trout caught and released. I just can't tell you how many, with a few 9s as well. It's a much tougher bite with soft plastics right now, but most of those people they're drifting with live shrimp under a mid-coast popping cork, and you know, getting them. Anybody can get them with a shrimp and a popping cork, even the pilgrims out there. So it's just been a really good bite. Waders have worked the flats on the east end and found fish on she-dogs. Reefs in the middle of the bay, like Along Reef, 3 Beacon, Half Moon, and Barefoot are producing on she-dogs and bass assassins. Port O'Connor guide Lynn Smith, he said those back lakes have been on fire for topwaters with these high tides. The deep reefs in the middle of the bay have been good on live bait. Waders around Pascavallo have caught early limits of topwaters. I did that today. Matter of fact, just minutes from Pascavallo. It was really good. A lot of that emerald green water coming in from the Gulf, that July water, it just got it just beautiful over there. Then in Rockport, guide Rhett Price said the pattern around Ranges Bay has been live bait out of the boat, but he's worked topwaters around Mud Island as well. The photo there, surf trout, they're not at the top of the food chain in the surf. You can see this 7-pounder had kind of a bite taken out of its back, again, in the back of a boat, and while we were fishing out of the back of a boat. So it's been, I tell you, there's a lot of toothy creatures out there right now. Inshore, the redfish, points and bios dumping around Oyster Lake, Crab Lake, and Mad Island Reef have been good. Reds are on Matagorda, Boggy Lake, just off the ICW in East Matagorda Bay, have been good. And then nearby Lake Austin's been good around in the shorelines and around Cedar Flat. Reefs and Bass Drop in Chocolate Bay near Freeport, good for reds on live shrimp and finger mullet. San Luis Pass always holds reds, but be careful wading San Luis Pass. Currents and riptides are real strong right now. Best action for reds in Port O'Connor has been in the back lake. Those tides have been high, but they're going to drop sometime this month, and you should be hanging out somewhere around the mouth of those bios. The jetty is holding lots of slot reds from Port Aransas to Port O'Connor as well. Go offshore with kingfish. In Matagorda, guide Michael Quebec said the kingfish are everywhere around structure while you're trolling. The Gulf season opens July the 15th, so many kings will be caught behind shrimp boats when that happens. Right now, you can just troll out there and get them. Red snapper everywhere from Freeport to Port O'Connor. Drop a squid down in 40 foot of water, and you'll probably get bit. Light winds over the weekends allow big boats to haul in great catches of red snapper for 15 to 20 pounds. Forecast for this weekend is the same. We've got a July cold front that just doesn't happen very often. It's going to slick it off in the Gulf, and it's going to be awesome. This time of year, we're leaving the dock early and getting off the water early. Before we head out, we'll normally serve those Prussian kolaches at the Sunrise Lodge. Man, I like enjoying the dried jalapeno sausage throughout the day on the boat. We can get it at the harbor, but if you can't get it anywhere, Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Florida, anywhere, You can go online and have it shipped to you. My banker ships me a care package every Christmas. He ships it. I only live probably 20 minutes from Project, but somehow he ships it online every year. So, man, I'm pretty happy with that.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm pretty happy with your report this week, Bink, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at the CCA Texas hotspots from the Middle Coast region. He said the reefs along the east shoreline around Palacios Point and Hotel Point are holding good trout on live shrimp, and the kingfish, red snapper are good over the rocks and wrecks about 9 to 12 miles out. And then those Dorado and triple tails are solid along the weed lines, Bree.
Why not have projects delivered right to your doorstep? Why would you do anything else?
I want to do it every week.
Me too. All right, if you have trout, snook, or wahoo on the brain and plan on fishing the Garmin Lower Coast region this 4th of July weekend, Captain Chad Kinney is your guide. Hey, Chad, you ready for the weekend?
I'm ready. This past weekend was excellent. Like Bing said, with the weather calming down, it's really heated things up fishing-wise, water temperature going. It's time to go now, the inshore and offshore. Speaking about starting out with the inshore here, out of Port Mansfield, head to the weather station or Wagner Bar for the trout bite. It's been really good. Live croaker's working really well on free line. Just remember when you're using this live bait, guys, and try to work the potholes or drop-offs in the sand. If you catch some of those scattered weed beds that are along there, you got to twitch that bait, keep it out of the grass, keep it moving a little bit. You don't want to reel it in to drown it, but keep it up out of the grass. You'll get a better bite. It's been a real early bite. That heat is coming up, so get out there real early, and then late in the afternoon it's still biting good if you guys are fishing late afternoons. If you're fishing soft plastics, saltwater assassins, sea shad's been working really, really well. If you're using these, hit the same areas, but if not, slide up into that 3 to 4 foot of water. There's more grass there, not as much potholes, but you can work that lure in the middle of the water column, and you'll have a good productivity on that deal. When the weather is better like this, if you're all throwing top waters, head over towards the west shoreline there, all the way through the King Ranch, and throw a mirror lure, CI Pro Dog Jr. This thing's a surface walker. It's working really good. We got a lot of surface grass on top, so throw down the lines where it's clear. Work your baits along that shoreline. You're going to have some good blow-ups and that stuff. The silver bone's working really great on that stuff. And we've got a picture here, good trout they released on Captain Charlie Buchan out of here, down at South in Mansfield here.
That's nice.
So,
nice.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So moving over, like we talked some snook last time and stuff, I'm going to stay on it a little bit because they're still biting. Like I said, the water temps are there. So if snook fishing's your deal, give me a call. I'll get you right with the right guides. There's some really good ones down here that'll help you out in South Padres, mainly where they're hitting right now. Throw your favorite mirror lure top water early. In the early morning, as the day goes on, switch to your saltwater assassins. Chicken on the chain's working good. Also tipping that jig with a little piece of fish bite. Found out the guys are working that deeper in the ship channels and stuff like that. Those deeper ends, jig end up through there, it's working well. But most of the snook right now are being caught in South Bay. So the best thing to do is wade fish for them or power pull down. You got a skiff or a shallow running boat, power pull down, toss up under the mangroves. It's working really well. When you're planning your fishing trip, it is better to get it around the lighter winds and better conditions so that water color's a lot better off and you're good like that. Got a buddy of mine, Wayne Davis, here with a beautiful picture of a snook here in the release right there out of South Bay.
Wow. That's a cool picture, man.
Cool.
All right. Way to go, Texas.
That's a good one.
All right.
Moving to the offshore. Offshore has been nuts. It's on fire. You guys got to get out there. We've been going nonstop. The boat's been, I've never seen as much wahoo as far as that. There's more weed lines this year on the lower coast than I've seen in the past several years, which is producing the good numbers of wahoo because it's holding the bait and some Dorado there. Like I said, the wahoo are in abundance, which is kind of a month later or 2 months later than normal, but pull those mirror lure divers and especially get an islander out there with the ballyhoo. They've been crushing these things. And if you want to, put a planer on that islander, get it down about 30 foot. You can either do a manual one or run it off a bent butt, whatever's most comfortable for you. And keep working those weed lines. Look for bait in and out of there. Pull 3 lines in this so you can make your quicker turns. If you get in the scattered grass, you can get back out, work the rip on the other side. But we had a multiple days here. Got a picture of a wahoo. Got Tyler Bailey, who just signed with the offensive line for TCU. They went 7 for 10 on wahoo off my boat this Saturday.
Well, that sounds like an epic day, dude. You guys got to keep up the good work.
It's epic. And then the same thing on this one, if you guys are trolling or, sometimes that bite quits on you in the middle of the day or whatever else like that. So ground fishing's your type of deal, especially now with federal snapper season going on. Just go ahead and go do some deep dropping for grouper. Find your favorite rig, deeper bottom structure, and put a bigger bait on. If you got live blue runners, that works really, really good. If not, if you got a fresh bonita you caught that day, put that thing on hole or put it in whole slabs. If you're targeting a Warsaw, I prefer at least 300 to 400 pound mono-leader with a 3-5 pound weight on the bottom, a big bank weight, and then put a longer leader on a 3-way swivel, about 3 to 4 foot long, with a big 10, 12-aught circle hook. That way that bait can kind of move around in circles and the current won't get roll on you on the way down. And then make sure when you get a big thump with the grouper, you got to feed them a little bit, give them a little bit of time, and then set the hook up on them. Once you get them up going, you'll get them all the way up. And remember, this is one fish per boat, per day, per vessel. So if you do get one, which we get them pretty often, just go ahead and usually move or stop fishing so you don't ruin any of the other ones down there. But got a good picture of a nice Warsaw right here. Got a picture of Bones is 95 pounds.
Dang, that's awesome, Chad. Way to go, man. You get the crown. That's a lot of big fish this week, bub. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the lower coast region. Chad says that, man, inshore, you want to go trout. The bite has been good out of Port Mansfield at the weather station and Wagner Bar. And out of South Padre Island, you might want to look for the snook. The fishing's been really good in the South Bay around the mangroves. And then offshore, wahoos, dolphins have been on fire along the lower coast. Weed lines have been formed over the structures, and if they have been producing big numbers of fish.
Can I just pick your jaw up, because that's kind of what happened during this report.
I love big groupers. I just have this thing about big
and
groupers.
7 for 10 on wahoo. Man, Chad, you're on fire.
He is.
He really is. All right, CCA Texas and BCT, CCA's National Habitat Program, have committed $250,000 to support efforts by Texas Parks and Wildlife Department and Ducks Unlimited to restore Dagger Island and protect important sea grass beds in Redfish Bay near Rockport. This project will restore one of the true treasures of the Texas coast by constructing a half-mile breakwater to stop the erosion and use dredge material to create habitat for fisheries and waterfowl. Thank you, CCA Texas. They're always doing such amazing things for our
What's so cool is that they're helping with the waterfowl too thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so cool that they help with both.
It is. They're great.
Good job, CCA.
All right, we're 11 all the summertime feels here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report. And up next, we're seeing what feels the Yeti Upper Fresh region has for us. But I'm getting a little summertime heat wave coming from the CCA workbench. What hot new products do we have over there, Dave? What?
You're suffering a heat wave from the band. Nice.
Dave, you're throwing off some heat.
Oh, I think I broke them.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
No, you didn't.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
It's a joke.
What a jokester. All right, we'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yeti, built for the wild. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a Miralure. Building Conservation Trust. CCA's National Habitat Program. And StarTron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems.
At the pinnacle of super high output, 4-stroke outboard performance, you'll find Yamaha VMAX SHO. Yamaha's game-changing SHO technology. From exhilarating V6 models to the sleek inline 4s, there's a VMAX SHO for everything from bass to bonefish. It's an extended family of 4-strokes engineered for lightweight, inspiring performance, and rock-solid reliability. Discover VMAX SHO and elevate your expectations.
Oh, there it is.
You can either stay busy fishing or get busy catching. From Texas to Tampa Bay or Key West to the Carolinas and beyond. For nearly 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites. Ask for Fish Bites and Fish Bites Fight Club lures by name or visit fishbites.com.
Over 40 years ago, Mr. Proshek began smoking meat in a little Texas town called Hilgi, combining fresh, grade A ingredients to create a variety of legendary smoked meats. Today, Proshek's Smokehouse is a Texas tradition, and now Proshek's not only satisfies hunger in Texas, but across the country. Visit Prosheks.com and order everything from fresh meats to your choice of jerky. Proshek's meats are made by Prosheks, sold by Prosheks, and can be delivered in as little as a day. Proshek's Smokehouse, a link above.
So Dave, here at the CCA Workbench, we talk about new products, and
Yes,
as
we
you
do.
know, Garmin, they sponsor all the things we do, but more importantly, they give me some great units for both my Pathfinder, my Skiff, as well as the Contender. And the thing that I really love about them is that you not only get the sonar down imaging and side imaging, but you also get great GPS, and we use that on the little Skiff. But when it comes to radar, I'm going to tell you that they have the state-of-the-art radar.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I want to point out to people is the one thing that we like to do on the Contender is we love to run with the split screen. And the reason why is because it allows us to monitor the last 10 to 15 feet. I can really zoom in there, and we can see the different types of fish, but more importantly, how the fish are laying up behind the structure.
It covers the whole water column.
Absolutely. So we're looking at the whole water column on one side, but in the perfect world, by zooming in like that, what we're able to do is see this ball of bait, and then you can see the predators are actually circling. When you get the fish that are actually spread out like that or behind the wreck, that's usually what happens when they're not in a monster feeding mode. But look at the baits there and all the kingfish laying behind the schools of bait, as well as there's some snappers there as well. That's one of the things that I love about their product. The other thing that we used it when we were marlin fishing last month in the Bahamas. We marked a school of bait by using the split screen where we're 50 feet all the way down to 300 feet. And that ball of bait, Dave, was probably a half a mile wide. We went off chasing some birds. We were using our radar to look for the birds. They have a mode where you go to menu in the radar, push the bird mode, and now the unit is programmed
Optimized
to
for
look
the
a
birds.
little different. And you can see how the flocks of birds are actually changing and moving. But at the end of the day, what was so crazy is we came back to where we found that giant school of bait, and Colin caught a 250-pound Mako trolling marlin lures, and then 10 minutes later, Kathy was hooked up to a 500-pounder, fought him for 2.5 hours, and caught the fish.
Well, if you can find the bait, you'll find everybody that eats it.
Absolutely,
So
and that was all because of what Garmin had done for us, you know?
Right. Well, next coming up here, we have this. This is the original steel shad. Steve Niemiller makes these things. He's a big guide up in the Toho area of Florida, and he makes a lot of lures and catches a lot of big bass on them. And this is a steel shad. It's a bladed lure. It's got a weight in the front, two very sharp treble hooks on it. They even makes a big XL size that comes with two single hooks for trolling offshore. Same kind of bait, except it's a lot bigger. They come in a lot of different sizes and a lot of different colors with different inserts on them, like mirrors and just plain colors, yellow, white, whatever. And you can actually have two different pulling points on the top where you tie it on to get your depth at a different depth, pull it at a different depth.
Paige and I, one time in a redfish tournament in Texas, fishing the jetty, we used these in vertical jigged. We ended up coming in third in a redfish elite.
They're really good for vertical jigging as well. Awesome. And also the Elite Series, they don't even have lead. They use a 10 weight, so you can use those Elite Series in places where you can't use lead.
All right.
Go to steelshad.com to check out. They got a bunch of other stuff too.
Steelshad.com.
Yep. Next we have some. These are from Nomad. This is the Chug Norris, they call him.
Chug Norris.
Chug Norris. And it's super easy to pop. I mean, look at the mouth on that thing. It moves a lot of water with very little effort. It casts like a dream. They come in 3 different sizes, 6-inch, 7-inch, and a lot of different weights. They're made from a company in Australia, and everything in Australia is loaded with teeth and destroys everything that it eats. So these things are made very, very strong. Super sticky hooks on them, on the trebles and the singles. So Nomad's making a big push. They have a lot of really cool lures out, and this is just one of them. Then the Chug Norris.
Chug Norris. I really like. What do you think about that?
NomadTackle.com.
Chug Norris.
You got me with the Chug Norris. That's right up my funny bone alley, that's for sure. All right, the Yeti Upper Fresh region is our firecracker finale. So Johnny, tell us what's blowing up on Lake Fork and Lake Allen Henry this weekend.
Hey, Rick and Brie. Well, it's hotter than the 4th of July here in Texas, that's for sure, and so is our fishing.
Hey, happy 4th of July to all our viewers. Hope everybody has a good weekend. So each summer around this time, man, on Lake Fork bass, they get into a real predictable routine, good pattern. The early morning topwater bite, it only lasts about 30 minutes, and then it's about time to head out for some deep water structure areas. Usually the best spots are on the main lake points, so real long points that drop out in about 40 foot of water, and I found that the best spots on the end of that point, you'll find that 40 foot, and the fish are holding about 25 to 30 foot. Other good areas are road beds, underwater bridges, and that were inundated when the lake filled up. So Lake Fork, we've got 4 main bridges that cross the main lake, and we got numerous shorter bridges over all the creeks. And each one of these bridges, every one of them has an old underwater road bed and a fully intact shorter bridge that was built over that original creek, and it's all flooded out now. So this man-made structure, it provides shade, it's got hard bottom, and ambush sites for our bass and other game fish. The bridge pillars themselves, they provide the shade and the cover and some excellent fish holding structure this time of year. And it's kind of cool under them too, good place to fish. Now, some days you'll see the bass schooling under the bridges and the wind's not blowing much. You're chasing shad all over the place. We catch them on small swim baits, catch them on top water baits, and then you go to a drop shot. All those are excellent lures to catch those schooling bass. Well, the crappie and the brim, they gang up around there too, and that's when the big bass come around, and they use those for good protein, and there's some big bass to hold around the cross beams. My customers like to fish some live bluegills on Carolina rigs around the flooded bridges, and we're catching a bunch of big ones holding tight to that structure right now. Heavy jigs and drop shots will also work good on some days, but usually the best bite's in the hottest part of the day. And when the bite's on, you can catch a bunch of 5 to 8 pound fish. In fact, I just left the lake 10 minutes ago, and we got an 806 right before we came in, so a good day. Last summer, I had a customer caught a 10.5 pounder on an underwater bridge just around this time, so we'll be hitting that one tomorrow. Other great places to find big schools of bass are old pond dams, deep humps, and ridges. And usually the best spots have some deep drop off right close to that structure. Learning to locate and fish those deep structure places takes a lot of practice. Having some good electronics and mapping, knowing what to look for can make that job a lot easier. Rick, I just installed my new Garmin Echo map with live scope unit on my boat, and man, what an amazing piece of equipment that is. I can not only see the fish moving and holding on the structure, I can watch the reaction to my lures and see how they react to the color, the size, or action. So once you pull it down, if they don't come up and bite your bait, you know what you got to change colors, change size. I'm using that live scope transducer to locate which bridge pillar or the side of the bridge is holding the fish, and you don't fish there if you don't see them on the live scope. You can also scan under boathouses for brush piles and fish holding close to cover. So my new Garmin, man, it's becoming the most important tool in my boat for locating fish. The big bass bite, been outstanding, should hold throughout the summer. My customers vote 15 to 20 bass daily, averaging around 5 pounds or better. So here's a couple of pictures from last week's trips. Judge Philip Lester and his son Caden had a pretty memorable trip, boated over 30 big ones that looked like these. So pretty good pictures of those fish.
Nice.
So if you're planning a trip, they're already planning their trip back to Lake Fork. Let's move on over to Lake Allen Henry. That's a little out in West Texas from here. About the only other lake I know of in the upper fresh region that can rival what Fork has in big fish. Lake Allen Henry's been putting on a fireworks show also. Guide Philip Poole from Gone Fishing Guide Service sent me a report, said some outstanding big fish catches are going on there now. Water temperature's starting to warm up. It's up to 82 and 84 degrees. The lake has now reached the full pool stage, and the newly flooded shorelines providing some excellent cover and food for all species of fish. The bass are in great shape. They put on a lot of weight after the spawn. Some good-sized fish being caught there. He's catching fish in the mornings on jigs and Carolina rigs and plastics. Here's a couple of pictures he sent, and you can see the quality of the fish that's growing on Allen Henry right now from recent trips. And they're a good place to catch some big ones. So if you're in the Abilene or Lubbock area, and you want to catch some big bass, give old Philip Poole with Gone Fishing Guide Service And have a happy 4th of July and go get you some of these big ones.
All right, thank you so much, Johnny. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the upper coast the upper fresh hot spots. Lake Fork, big bass, crappie, and catfish are biting great. Early in the morning, late in the afternoon, the best bite. And then green pumpkin jigs and shaky heads and 25 feet for a big one. And then Lake Allen Henry, full pool stage. The bass are biting on jigs and topwaters, flutter spoons, and slabs are working good on deep fish.
Better hurry up before my firecracker goes away.
Before it explodes. We put the sparklers on there and we burned out the sparklers during the hot spots.
Too soon, guys.
Dang,
hot
too early.
Well,
hey,
happy
it's
birthday,
gonna be
Brie.
your birthday. It is your birthday.
It is my birthday.
Today, July
Yes,
4th.
it is.
That's how special she is. She's a
Thanks.
July 4th. You came into the world with a bang.
Yep,
Well,
that's for sure.
Something like that.
Okay.
So, Brie,
I
what you
did.
gonna do for your birthday?
I'm gonna do a little fishing in the morning, go to a little sandbar action with the family afternoon. I'm so excited. Yeah.
Well, so you gotta have to,
Taking the weekend.
you're gonna have to do that this weekend.
I am. I'm
All
going
right.
to.
I
So
think
Saturdays and Sundays are for
Should
it.
we have one?
I'm gonna have a cookie. These are actually my favorite. The
have a
Loft House
lollipop cake.
cookies with the nice
Cake pop.
buttercream frosting.
That's
You're
what
gonna have a
I
cake
mean.
pop.
Yeah, of course.
Happy
Oh
birthday.
man,
Little Molly Lou
thank
makes
you.
these now.
Thank you for my birthday
Cheers.
cake. All my birthday cakes. And the sparklers.
Happy
Thanks,
birthday.
guys. Happy 4th of
Happy
July.
birthday, America.
Have a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
All right. Bye.